mirroring. When we say mirroring, you're going to notice that the instructor is doing things the mirror opposite of what the command is. For example, in a dress right dress, you normally put your left hand up, but you'll notice the instructor put their right hand up and out because they're facing the drill unit, and the drill unit will mirror what they do. It almost always happens that way, so we mirror it. If you find that's not working, you may indeed need to turn around and speak over your shoulder so that when you give the command, you're doing it the proper way. 90% of all drill and marching commands are two-part commands. The first part of the command is the preparatory command. This part of the command lets the marching team know what they're going to be doing. The second part is the command of execution. It's on this command that they actually execute the command. For instance, parade, crest, present, arms, order, arms, left flank, march. This gives them a chance to be mentally and physically prepared for the command that's coming. There are very few one-word commands. About the only one I can think of right off is the command rest. Almost all other one-word commands we usually give a prep command of Pathfinders. Pathfinders, attention. Pathfinders, dismissed. Pathfinders, fall out.
The position of attention is used to bring order to a unit. The command is given, attention. That time the feet sharply brought together, the 45-degree angle, the head, shoulder looking straight ahead, hands are cuffed with the thumb down beside. It goes along the seam of the trousers or along the seam of the skirt. The eyes are straight ahead, the head is straight ahead, no talking, no movement at all. Command is, Pathfinders, attention. That time, the hands will be cuffed, go along the side of the seam, the head, shoulder square, feet 45 degrees. That command is, attention.
Parade rest is a command used for long periods of standing. It can be said from the command attention. The command is parade rest. On the back, it should be right over left. Just like that.
Unique to the Pathfinder organization is prayer attention. Command is given, parade rest. Then prayer attention. That time the head is bowed. All headgear will be removed from the males at the amen. The headgear is replaced and the command is given, attention.
The command is stand at ease. It can be given from the command of parade rest. What stand at ease is they stand in place and they follow wherever I go. Their eyes and their head move to wherever I go.
Pathfinders, parade rest. Stand at ease. Attention.
At ease, you could move around except for your right foot. Your right foot stays in place. You can't talk, only move. Pathfinders, at ease. Rest. This command, you could move around, but you have to keep your right foot in place. You could talk as long as your right foot stays in place. Pathfinders, rest. Pathfinders, attend. Halt!
They're standing in formation at a position of at ease or rest, and you want to bring them back to attention. So you give them the preparatory command, Pathfinders. Do they just stand there? Do they not know what you're going to be doing? Technically, they should immediately assume a position of parade rest. Then on your command of execution, attention! They snap to attention. Let's see how many of you do it that way.
Pathfinders. Attention. Left face. Always go from the position of attention. The command is given left face. You will get on the heel of your left foot and the ball of your right foot, pushing off with your right foot, and turning in the direction that has been called. The command, left face, heel, toe, move. Command again, left face, heel, toe, move. Left feet. Left feet. Left feet. Left feet. In order to make it very simple, we can do left face by the numbers. You would take and only move when the number is called. Left face, 1, 2. Pathfinders, by the numbers. Left face, 1, 2. 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 Right piece. You'll get on the heel of your right foot, the ball of your left foot, and turn to the right. Command again. Right feet. Right feet. Right feet. Right feet. Right feet. Right feet. Right feet.
This command turns the Pathfinder 180 degrees in the opposite direction.
Pathfinders, about face. Is at that time that we take the right foot, put approximately 3 inches behind the left, on the ball of the right foot, get on the heel of the left foot, and turn. Once again, about face. About face. By the numbers, about face. 1, 2.
So we found an effective method of taking care of that is to actually have them turn the wrong direction. Now, you don't want to do that frequently or they'll make a habit of it. But while you're instructing them without command, simply invite them to turn to the left in that manner. By doing so, they establish exactly the position where their right toe is going to go. Once they know where that position is, they can pivot back to it and they're in the right position. Now that I've learned that, I know where I'm going to put my toe behind me so that every time I turn, I end up in the correct position.
Present arms is a command that is used to salute the flag. Pathfinders, present arms. Let me show you the correct way to salute. Now, his palm is showing. It shouldn't be. So you want to slightly turn your palm inside and lift your elbow slightly up. That's the correct way. Her palm is curved. It should be straight. All you want to do is straighten your palm, have the tip of your finger, the tip of your eyebrow. Order arms. This command is used to return to attention from present arms. You want to bring your hand down and not slap, and return to attention. So, Pathfinders, order arms! There is no specific command for doing a hand salute. It is automatically made when approaching a superior officer.
Afternoon.
At the command, Pathfinders fall in. The Pathfinders, no matter where they are, they come and fall in centered on the person who told them to fall in, at attention. The captain is at the front of the unit, with the rest of the unit members falling in directly behind. The counselor is at the very end of that line. They automatically check for interval and distance. Pathfinders, fall in.
At the command fall out, the Pathfinder is then to take an about face and one step in the direction headed and remain within the area.
Pathfinder, fall out. Pathfinders, dismiss. Each Pathfinder will do a present arms. The director will return the salute. When it's dropped, the Pathfinders will drop their salute and go in the direction appointed. Pathfinders, dismiss. Pathfinder, you should hold that salute until its return.
Sir, yes, sir.
The purpose of Dress Right Dress is to make sure that the whole club is aligned. Remember that the people in the first row are the ones that's going to stretch out. In case this way, it's going to stretch out from here to here, and you're going to touch it, the fingertip to the shoulder. And everybody else, if your arms are longer, you may have to extend in the back and line up perfectly in the person in front of you. And so that's the one I just kind of want to remind you on doing this. Okay? So we'll try this out. That's right. Dress. Ready, set. Pathfinders with 10, hut. Dress right. Dress. Ready, set. Cover.
To establish your distance, the command is cover. When this command is given, you raise your left hand straight in front of you with your hand straight out, your palm facing down, and typically you'll give 3 to 6 inches of space between your fingers and the shoulders of the person in front of you. To lower that arm, the command is recover. You'll all lower your arms together, coming back with your hands curled at the side of your leg without slapping your hand against your pants leg.
The command will be forward, march. Left foot first, okay? And then the next command is to halt the club, and I'm going to say, Pathfinders, halt. And after you say the word halt, you take one more extra step, and then you close with a trailing foot right behind it. So it's going to go like this. Left, Pathfinders, halt, 1, 2. Okay? And you stop right there. Lifting your feet 6 inches off the ground. 6 inches off the ground. That's about 6 inches off the ground. So you'll be marching left, 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 right, left. Pathfinders at 10, hut. Don't look at the ground. Forward, march. Left, 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 right, left, left, left. Pathfinders, hold. Straight ahead. Make sure you're perfectly lined up and look to the corner of your eyes. So you're looking at the corner of your eyes. Don't turn your head. Just look at the corner of your eyes. Make sure you're lined up with him. And you've got to make sure that you're lined up with her. And you've got to make sure that you're lined up with him, okay? And you have to make sure that you don't get too far ahead and you're lined up exactly right behind him.
March. Your left, your left, your left, right, left. Mark time. March.
A tree, a wall, may it be anything, will pop up and you can't run into it. So the best thing to do is call a mark time march. Before you hit the tree, you want to keep 3 paces in between. And that prevents the group from running into that.
Route step march is given as either foot strikes the ground. And when the Pathfinders are at route step march, basically they follow in the direction of travel that you're moving, okay, along a road or in a parade or what have you. If you would like to do any flanking movements or other movements like that, you need to bring them back to quick time. The nice thing about route step march is it's a little more relaxed, but the Pathfinders stay in formation and they're quiet. The next command will definitely help you avoid some obstacles while you're drilling and marching, and it's incline to the left or incline to the right. And the actual command is incline left or incline right. However, much like with to the rear, it's much more fluid and it flows easier as you're giving your cadence. Basically, you would give the command incline to the left, march. And it's used to avoid an obstacle right in the direction of travel. The Pathfinders would sidestep around the obstacle and then resume the forward direction once they're past the obstacle.
Forward. March. Double time. March. Left, 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 right, left, left.
3 steps to the left, march. 1 step forward, march. 2 steps to the right, march. 1 step to the rear, march. Now remember, steps to the rear are always taken in half steps.
3 steps to the left, march. 3 steps to the right, march. Ready? Halt.
Left flank, march. 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 Right flank, march. Right flank, march. Right flank, march. Right flank, march. Zip, 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 right, zip. Right flank, march. 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 Right flank, march.
Left flank, march, step, turn. Now we interpret this as being your trailing foot. So we step off with this foot. Now the other interpretation of the flanking movement is like this. Left flank, march. At this point, this is actually interpreted as your trailing foot. So you would then step off with this foot, not doing the step turn, but more a pivot.
Come left, march, step, turn. There you go. Keep on marching forward. Don't stop for him. Come left, march, step, turn. Come left, march, step, turn. There you go. Keep on marching forward. Don't stop for him. Come left, march, step, turn. There you go. You got it. Come left, march, step. Perfect. That's how it's supposed to look. Come right, march. Come right, march. Excellent. Good job. That's looking good. Couple more. Come right, march. Oblique that. Oblique the turn. Excellent. Good job. One, come right, march, step. One, come right, march, step. Pathfinders, hold.
Pathfinders, column left, march.
Forward, march. Rear, march. Rear, march. Rear, march. Both parts of the command are called on the right foot. As the command march is called on the right foot, the trailing left foot swings all the way forward, places, and you now pivot 180 degrees to the right, stepping off now with the left foot. The most common is a file of 3 or 4 wide. That lets you have several Pathfinders deep and gives you a lot of variety in how many there are. You put your flags out to the front, always remembering to put your American or Canadian or Bermudian flag on the right with other flags to its left. Your banner out in front of the flags, though in some conferences they prefer the banner to be behind the flags. Normally your drill instructor will fall in on the far left side outside of your formation to the rear of the formation so that everyone can hear. Though again, there are areas where they like the drill instructor to fall in on the right side. Guidons can be done in 2 different fashions, across the front row or down the right-hand file. Again, it's your preference. There are 2 specific commands that you need to know to participate in a parade, especially one with a reviewing stand, and those commands are eyes right and ready front, and we'll show those to you now.
What we're going to review this time is your eyes right. Purpose of the eyes right is to make sure that your lines and your ranks are perfectly in line as you pass the review stand. When the command is called, it's going to be, the preparatory command is eyes. And when the command right is called, everybody looks to the right except for the person that is on the right. They look straight ahead, making sure that you're perfectly aligned and perfectly in line. Everybody else is looking towards you. The command to look to the front is ready front. At ready front, everybody then turns their head and looks straight ahead. The guidons, when you hear the command eyes right, you will present guidons. Now this is normally done about 6 paces before the review stand and 6 paces after the review stand. And the directors present arms to the review stand as they march by. Left, right, left. Eyes! Right! Left, 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 right, left. Left, left, left. Left, 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 right, left. Ready. Right.
What this command is used for is if there are a lot of trees, if you're at a fair or a camporee, and there's going to be a lot of obstacles in the way, you're not going to be able to very easily march as a formation. This way, it gets the entire formation in one long file. You don't have to worry about obstacles and calling incline to the left or incline to the right or column left, column right. You don't have to worry about that. That is the reason for this maneuver.
Pathfinders, file from the left, forward, turn.
Left, 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 right, left, left.
Finder, file from the right, forward, turn. Pathfinders, forward, turn, left, reform, formation, turn.
One of the most common problems when marching as a club is keeping the pace of the club. Sometimes you'll start out at a time march, forward march. Next thing you know, the pace has increased and the club is sort of disorganized. After a while, that might lead to exhaustion. This is one example of how a club starts out marching and speeds up. The command is given, forward, march. Everyone starts out at the same pace, but as you go further down, the pathfinder tends to increase pace, eventually exhausting himself and being discouraged. One of the ways to remedy this is to develop a cadence. A cadence keeps in pace each pathfinder or club unit so as to save energy as well as keep everybody organized. One of the most simplest forms of performing a cadence is your standard left, 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 right, left. Pronouncing left every time, obviously, when the left foot hits the ground. Let me show you. Mark time, march. Forward, march. Lift, 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 right, lift. Lift, 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 right, lift. Maintaining that count keeps the club organized. Another way to do a cadence involves a little creativity. You can add your own lyrics to maintain the club's spirit as well as their step. I'll give you an example. Lift, 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 right, lift. Oh, Pathfinders. Oh, Pathfinders. Pick up your Bibles and follow me. We are the messengers. The Pathfinder needs to maintain in step, and you also keep them involved with the response and interaction of a cadence. Let's go, messengers. 1, let's go all the way. 2, let's go all the way. 3, let's go all the way. Simple way to keep your Pathfinders animated in step and keeping them from getting discouraged.
Purpose of open ranks is to simply prepare the club for inspection. The way we do this is very simple. Third rank always steadfast. The second rank takes 1 step forward. The first rank takes 2 steps forward. If there are more than 3 ranks, the fourth rank takes 2 steps back. The fifth rank takes 4 steps back. And the sixth rank takes 6 steps back, all in increments of 2. Remember that the steps backward are half the distance of the steps forward, and that is why we take 2 times the number of steps backward versus the number of steps forward. We will now demonstrate how this is done. Hut. Cover. Recover. Open ranks. March. Close ranks. March. Open ranks. March. Close ranks. March. Pathfinders, fall in. This is a club formation in unit formation. And as you can tell in this case, we start off with the Pathfinders on our left side. This is our captain, our girls Pathfinder captain, our boys Pathfinder captain, our girls teen and TLT captain, and our boys teen and TLT captains. Normally, the counselors and the staff members are at the end of the unit. Another way is you could have them fall in by formation by their classes, where you can have the friends here, companion, explorer, ranger, voyager, and guide. Another way that this may be done is instead of falling in by ranks this way, they can actually fall in ranks this way, where you have friend, companion, explorer, ranger, voyager, and guide. And the third way that they can do it is falling in by ranks, where all the boys are on one side by units, and the girls' division is on the other side, all in one unit. Pathfinders, dismiss.
We have a line. First person in line would be the unit captain. The unit follows him, and it ends with a unit counselor. What we're gonna do is we're gonna march just past the flagpole, okay? We'll do a column left, so we end up behind the flagpole. We stop centered fairly behind the flagpoles, is we're gonna form a line, nice straight line, captain first. The captain will march towards the director, just like this. Walk over towards the director. And he'll stop just 2 paces before the director. He'll hand you the flag with the arrow pointing you. You want to hold it. You want to be secure with this. You want to hold it right down, right here, right in the front. Tuck it in, right under your arm. And make sure the flat part's parallel with the ground. You want to cradle it, that's what we call it. Make sure the flag is in good hands. Now from here, you want to salute the director. Wait for his salute to go down. About face, and march to the flagpole. From there, 2 assistants should come and help you from your unit. And what you're going to do is unfold the flag, latch it, and prepare for flag raising. Pathfinders, attend, halt! Forward, march! Column right, march! Left, 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 right, left. Column left, march! Left, left. Pathfinders, halt! Left face.
Permission to raise the colors, sir.
Now, you may not have a large group, like some of us. You might have a small group and you can't fill all the color guard positions. What you could do, you could take 4 people like this and slightly unfold the flag. Where is it? Right here. You could slowly and slightly take this part out, unfold it like that, and you could latch this up to the pole and slowly pull it up and it will unfold itself. That's a small way you could do it with a small group. Alright, this is flag lowering. Now, it mainly involves the same things as flag raising, just slightly different actions. Now the captain, the captain is going to leave his position there, march towards the director. And what are you going to ask the director?
Permission to lower the colors, sir.
Right, permission to lower the colors, sir. And you salute him before you say that, right? Alright. And after you say that, you about face, turn around, and bring the flag down, unlatch it. Your group members, your unit, will help you out. And once the flag is folded and ready, you take it, a little carrying style you do. And from there, you about face, march to the director, present arms, order arms, give him the flag, and about face, and that's about it. You walk back into your line, and then we march out. It's as simple as that. Pathfinders, forward, march, left, column left, march, left, 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 right, left. Pathfinders, hold, left face, permission to lower colors flag.
Mission grant.
Alright, now there's 2 ways to do this. He could stop, and y'all could wait for him to stop, and he could come up. Or I could just come up here and give y'all the command to come up. But in this case, when he stops, I want y'all to come and help him. So let's go ahead and do that.
Hold on a second. Do not start lowering the flag until the command is given. Then at the proper time, you will make eye contact with the director in order to start lowering down the flag. Okay, let's try it.
North American Division Pathfinders, preset, hold!
Remember, Pathfinders, when lowering the flag, lower it slowly, the opposite of when you're raising. When you raise it briskly. When you're lowering it, nice and slow. Okay? Okay, it's very important. As the flag is coming down, as soon as it gets within reaching distance, move in quickly to grasp the flag. Hold on a second. The proper way to do it is receiving it and placing it under the left arm because you need your right arm to salute the drill master. Okay? Let's try that again. Very good.
Detail reform. Left face. Forward. March. Left.
Now you would bring it together. When you get to this point right here, turn it over so that the stars and the blue are on the bottom. Now you fold it again. Okay, now on both sides you have the blue and the stars on both sides now. At this point, the color guard will make sure on the blue field that the red is tucked in underneath now. Okay, so the color guard, you need to make sure that there is no red showing on the blue field. Make sure it's tucked in. Okay. Next procedure, you fold the hem over. Fold the hem over first. So you make a diagonal, make it a triangle, over to your right. After each time, it's good to pull it back a little bit, okay, to keep it tight. Okay, you fold straight up, keeping it tight at all times. Always hold it, pull it back a little bit. Also, you might want to say that when you're folding the flag, this is not a race. This is to be done at a slow pace to give honor to not only to the flag and ourselves, but to the freedoms that we have and that we enjoy in this country. So this is not a race. It is something that is done with precision and elegance. Okay, each time you do it, you pull it back a little bit. Now, at this point right here, the point should be right even with the blue field. If you come up and you're folding and you come like this, you've gone too far. You haven't made it tight enough. The point should be right on the hem of the blue field. And when you come back over with your diagonal, it should fit right on that hem. Okay, need to make sure that it's not doubled over. Okay, now at this point, fold the hem over. Okay, yeah, good. Fold that over. And then it comes up inside the blue field. Now, as you can see, the flag is still somewhat loose. You can hold it up and tighten it, tuck it in to make it tight. Okay, and make any final adjustments that need to be made. Okay, pull this one. Like that. Okay.
Oftentimes when you're going on a field trip, you want to make sure of how many pathfinders you have on hand. The easiest way to do this without assigning them numbers is to actually have them count off. Count off is very simple. The preparatory command is count. At the executory command of off, everyone turns their head to the right, just as in eyes right. But afterwards, the first person will count off, keeping their head looking straight ahead, and they'll say one, and everybody else follows, turning their head from eyes to front as they say their number. It's numbered always from the right side, right to left, and then the columns behind it follow afterwards, right to left. We'll demonstrate for you now how we do this. Pathfinders, count! Up!
1,
2,
3, 4, 5, 6.
Let's try that again if you didn't catch it the first time. We're going to do it in slower motion just so you see how it happens. We're going to do it in half time. Pathfinders, count! Up!
1,
2,
4, 5, 6.
Now you know how count off is done properly.
Let's now take a look at guide-on drill. The first command that we will take a look at is carry guide-on. Carry guide-on is used when doing the facing movements or you're marching at quick time. And to execute carry guide-on, basically you slide the hand down the guide-on pole and then lift it about 1 inch off the ground. That way you can execute a facing movement. Right, haste. Left, haste. When you're done marching, or you've been halted, or you're done with the facing movement, you just allow the guide-on to slide back down to the ground. The next command that we will look at is parade rest. Basically, to execute parade rest, you do it as you would without a guide-on, putting your left hand behind your back, and with the right hand, you allow the guide-on to slide out 45 degrees. Parade rest. Attention. Parade rest. Attention. Now let's take a look at raise guide-on. Raise guide-on is used for the preparatory command of eyes right and present arms. To execute raise guide-on, slide your right hand down the guide-on pole, lifting it about 6 inches off the ground, at the same time bringing your left hand across to the guide-on. Your left hand should be over your right hand. On the command of execution, arms of present arms or right of eyes right, drop the guide-on down in front of you to be parallel with the ground, returning your left hand to your body. To return from this position, the command is ready front or order arms. You again execute a raise guide-on on the preparatory command, like so. Order arms, allowing the guide-on to slide back to the ground. Let's see that again for eyes right and ready front. Eyes right. Ready front. Normally, without a guide-on, if a superior officer passed by, you would just execute a hand salute. But since you're carrying the guide-on in your right hand, you can't do that, so you do a guide-on salute. A guide-on salute looks like this. Hand salute. Okay? And you would do that when a superior officer passes by.
As a drill instructor, what do I do if I've started a command, I've given the preparatory command, and I realize it's the wrong one? If I continue with that left face, they're going to walk into a river. There is something I can do. I simply say, as you were. This lets them know to ignore my preparatory command, and they keep on doing whatever it is they were doing beforehand. Sometimes your pathfinders will catch you giving a command that you're not allowed to do. You'll give that preparatory command and they'll expect you to correct it immediately, and you don't. What happens? They respond with a vocal response. Command, sir, reminding you that you've just given a command that you can't give. Sometimes they'll respond by saying, as you were, sir, and that's something your conference will have to determine as which is the one you want to use. Personally, I prefer that they just ignore my command and say nothing. It seems to be less intrusive, and I'll very quickly pick up that I did something wrong. I do suggest that you check your manual to see what commands can be given from what positions. They're clearly outlined in the manual, and there's no sense us taking time to run you through that during this program. The North American Division has taken a prime opportunity to gather together some of the more experienced drill instructors from across the division. We've shown you some of those drill instructional techniques. We've tried to walk you through some of the actual steps, but we decided to take a little more informal break now to gather together here around a table and discuss our personal philosophy and view of how we would train a club. If we were brought in to work with a new director or a new counselor who wanted to form a special drill team or to teach basic drill to a new friend, maybe even a new voyager, what steps or what style would we employ? What have we found to be most effective to reach these young people? And I'll tell you, the styles will vary as much as our regions vary. We have different ways of doing things, and a lot of it may depend on the region we're from the west, from the east, from the deep south, from the far north, maybe even from street to street. We have different styles, different methods of doing these things. We want to take an opportunity to talk to these folk here, to give them a chance to tell us why they drill. What's the point of all of this? It sure is a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. So why do we do this? What do we obtain for it? If we're just doing it because, that's not a very good reason. There's got to be a purpose for what we're doing. Troy, why don't you share with us first?
One of the reasons why I like drill and marching so much is it builds an esprit de corps, a spirit of the club. And with the drill team, it makes it easier for the club to control, but it builds a spirit that is actually palatable in the club.
I think drilling and marching is the perfect opportunity for a club to develop teamwork so that they can depend on each other.
I love drilling, mainly because it's fun. It brings out creativity. Each comment could be heard. It's just fun.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything's been said, but in our club, let me add on to that. It's a fun way to do discipline. I find that as I've been exposed to other clubs in other places, whether it's the West Coast or the East Coast, clubs that drill tend to have a little bit more, easier time to discipline the club as a whole than those who don't do any drilling at all. Mm-hmm. And so we do use that as a way of the kids developing a disciplined style.
But discipline, however, is a method of that we use to bring an entire unit or a massive number of people from one point to another. The most organized method that we use is through drilling and marching. Here's a point where we can organize, we can get it together, we can move it in an orderly fashion, and it will provide for us an arena where we can go from one place to another in a very organized fashion. Joel, don't you agree?
I agree. I think also drilling and marching is a way to witness all of these aspects of pathfindering to those out there that may want to know more about God and pathfindering, and it's a way to bring them in and represent ourselves to them.
Now I have a second question for you. You've been invited into a club that has just started out. They have a brand new staff. They all have brand new pathfinders. None of them are returned pathfinders. They don't know anything about marching and drilling, and they know that you're the expert. So they're going to call for you, and they want you to come in. What kind of a style or philosophy do you find personally effective in teaching both the staff and the young people? You know, are you strong with them? Are you soft with them? What kind of specific sorts of things do? You don't need to get up and march for us right here and now, but in general, what kind of style do you find useful? Roger, let's start with you.
I would establish a very strong structure that says this is the way it's done, this is the way that it should be done, and actually there may be some variance in that, but I would be very structured with it to say this is the way it should be done.
So when you stand up in front of them the first time, you're going to be straight up, speak to them in crisp, commanding tones.
That is exactly correct. In fact, I think it establishes the authority figure that is necessary to have a club in that setting that says that this should be the respect for that authority, and this is what's going to get you from here to there, that it will establish the teamwork and will establish also the fact that there are hierarchy within this organization that will take us from one point to another.
I tend to use that method as well. I tend to try to find where the Pathfinders are at, or the staff members. I try to have fun with them while I'm doing drilling and marching, and get to know them a little bit, find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. Some are real good on facing movements, and some are good on marching movements. I like to let the Pathfinders know that there's a time that we can have a little bit of fun with drilling and marching, but there's also a real important time that we need to come together as a team and be sharp, crisp, precise, and respectful of what we're doing.
My approach when I teach drill to a starting club would be, the club is starting out down here. I use the incentive approach. Every Pathfinder has the ability to be up here, to learn those commands precisely. Once they've reached that goal, that can be used as a tool to encourage other Pathfinders coming in to be part of that drill team or drill team group. And it offers a sort of an incentive for them to continue to practice, and like you explained earlier, the discipline factor, that they have to every day practice the commands, the routines, in order to develop that crispness, that perfection.
How I do it is with a brand new club, I go ahead and I personally demonstrate it first exactly how I want them to perform the action. That way they have a basis to go on. And rather than just calling out the command, I go ahead and demonstrate first the command I wish them to do, and then I call the command for them to execute it. Then we'll see which ones can catch on quickly, those that take a little bit more time. The ones that catch on quickly, that's good. The others, I pull them out, not at that time, but at a different time, I pull them out and I work specifically with them. As we begin to come together, I don't necessarily give them rewards, but I'm continually showing them, remember how you did it before. Look at where you are now. Look at the progress that you have made. You're turning your corners sharp, your hands are exactly straight. When you're doing your dress right dress, it's crisp and clean. So I am continually praising them on what they have done correctly. There are those that do not, that take a little bit more time. Rather than stop and point that out and make them embarrassed, I pull them aside. And rather than bring that out and have that as a point where everybody else is watching that and doing it again because they watched that, I try not to bring attention to that. But only on the points that they are doing well, that is what I bring out.
When working with a new drill team, what you don't want to forget is discipline, of course, because without discipline, everyone will get off track. There's several ways to go about it. Also, the one thing that you can't forget as well comes with discipline is just a touch of humor every now and then. So no one gets stressed out. A few laughs here and there can keep the club going, keeps in the fun. And I really think that's important, and I always try to keep that in mind.
If I was going to be invited to help a new club drill, I think the first thing I would do is see if I could take other Pathfinder members from different clubs and bring them in to serve as guidance, as counselors, in terms of teaching the kids how to drill. It's very difficult for one person to, let's say, teach a club of 12 that has never drilled before. But if I can take 6 TLTs or 16 Pathfinders who's been drilling before, you say, hey, can I invite you? Or if you don't have that, you can call another club. You could call, anyone that's your coordinators to come in and say, could you bring a team in from another Pathfinder club to work with us? And so that makes things a little bit easier, working 1-to-1, 1-to-2. But the second philosophy I always have about drilling is, as she mentioned before, is just keeping it fun. You know, if you drill too long, then the kids get tired of it and they get bored. But if you keep it short, that they're always wanting more, then I think what happens is that they get excited about the process. It's not a requirement, it's something that they want to do. And of course, at the end of the carrot, I always say, if you get good enough, if you work at it hard enough, possibly you could develop a fancy drill team upon which they can do that. But I never teach kids fancy movements if they don't know their basic movements down first, because that's the most important thing. And that's their incentive of learning it as quickly as they can, so they have the opportunity to learn a higher level of drilling.
What is appropriate for time frame duration for practicing drill? Do we go for 3 hours at a stint, or do we go for 3 minutes?
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If it's a completely new club, I wouldn't go more than 30 minutes to do that. And you got to know the attention spans. For example, if these are all 10-year-olds, you know, probably 15, 20 minutes would be sufficient. If you're looking at junior high and high school, they're going to want more, and they can hold their attention a lot longer. So again, you're going to have to know your kids. You're going to have to know their attention span. With MTV, everything changes every 15 minutes. So that may be all the time to do that. You may want to do it at the beginning of the club and at the end of the club, and you have that in between. So you've got to just know your kids.
Alvin, let me ask you a specific one. What about frequency? Do we practice at every meeting? If we have 4 meetings a month, do we practice once a month? What have you found to be effective?
For my club, I've found that it's more effective to set time aside other than your standard club meeting. To take a specific time to work on those little nuances that they seem to be messing up on, and really get to just the basic of how to do that right face or left face. So it's I think it's just taking time aside other than a club meeting, because there's other things in the structure that could take up time that the Pathfinder's already there 2 hours, and then you're going to drill a little extra. The fatigue sometimes sets in.
All right. Troy, let me ask you a question. Is there a formation that actually works better? Is there a specific formation, a shape of a formation, something unique we could do that would make the instruction a little bit easier?
What I usually do is I have them in formation, but I get up higher than they do. I bring a table out, and I stand up on the table. And I have them so they can see my feet. So when I do a left face, the people in the back, if you do a left face or about face, they cannot see what you're doing. So I bring a table, I get up on the table, and then I do my facing movements.
I've also heard of clubs doing that where the Pathfinders are on stairs. You know, you don't have a platform that you can use, but they sit on the stairs so they can see down to you. Very good, very good.
Glenn, it's not always possible to be elevated or even to be close to stairs. So sometimes you may have to just form a round circle so that everybody can be around you and see the movement. And you would have to face different areas and different directions so that each one can see it from different angles. One may see it from the back, the other from the front, and you'd have to turn the other direction so they can see it and get a glimpse of the way that it should be. So either way, if you're going to go, if you have available those areas, fine. But if you're in an area where the entire thing is flat, then you would have to position yourself so that everyone can see at the same time.
And I thank you for your participation in this discussion. I'd like to throw out 2 personal ideas that I have found. I agree, especially with throwing the humor in, and sometimes it gets me into trouble, but I have found my specific forte is to demonstrate the incorrect way to do it and the natural consequences thereof, often landing me flat on my back or in some similar position that makes them understand that they don't have to be frightened from me. But truly the most effective way I have found is to pull each one in individually and spend time one-on-one, making sure they know how to do it. Then when they come together, they aren't embarrassed at all. Even if it's with their friends, they aren't embarrassed because they know the fundamentals, and I can take as much time as each one needs. But that's real difficult to do if I'm the director. It's real difficult to do if I'm teaching a class. I really have to have somebody set aside just to do that.
Well, you know, I think one of the important things that we're doing with this video, it helps when you can see something that's done right. And so with this video coming up, you hope that even before you get started with them, is that they see what it is, that they know what they're doing. So ahead of time, they have an idea already.
I like the fact that you can take the opportunity to just have them seated and just watch you go through the plan of what you want to teach them. These are the simple commands, the basic Pathfinder moves. I'll demonstrate them personally myself. And this is what we're going to work on. So there's no pressure. They're not standing. They're not rigid. They're relaxed. They're seated. And they're more acceptable to what you're trying to relate to them.
All right. Let's go out there, drill and march them.
Amen. Right.
Amen.
All right.
Excellent job.